Hey guys, what's up? This is Diego here at Cinemageddon Reviews. Once again, back after some time off with my job and school and working paycheck to paycheck. Someday I won't be living like this, I promise. Anyway, the new installment in the Conjuring series is finally out, and I have quite a few things to say about it, so without further ado, welcome to another edition of Stories from the Wasteland. So The Devil Made Me Do It is the first in the main series of Conjuring films not to be directed by James Wan. This one was instead directed by Michael Chavez? Can't tell with these names. Sometimes they're a little weird, sometimes it's exactly the way they're pronounced. I can't tell for sure with this director. Anyway, he previously directed another film in the Conjuring series called The Curse of La Llorona, and this film, like the previous two Conjuring films, features the return of Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga as Ed and Lorraine Warren, two paranormal investigators that are very, very famous. This time they're investigating the famous The Devil Made Me Do It murder case in which a man pled not guilty to a first-degree murder charge on the basis of demonic possession, and it's up to the Warrens to prove this man's claims that he was demonically possessed in order to save his life and the lives of others. I've been a fan of the Conjuring movies for a little while now. I didn't watch either of them until a while after they had both come out because honestly, it took me a minute to warm myself up to the prospect of watching them. I don't consider myself much of a horror fan, and I personally prefer to be thrilled, not scared or horrified out of my mind when I see a movie. You can judge me if you want, but that's the reason that I'm not as big of a horror fan as other movie critics that I heard about. Nevertheless, what I enjoy about the Conjuring movies is that they manage to make fun horror movies out of true stories, and sort of wrap them up into like an anthology series that all chronologically takes place in the same world, and it does it in a way that doesn't feel like Marvel, for example, like it's trying to rip off Marvel. It has its own identity and it stands on its own 2 feet, and I've always admired that. And with this movie, they managed to keep that trend going. The Devil Made Me Do It is not a perfect film, but I think it's another very good entry in this franchise, certainly the most different of the 3 main films, and definitely worth the watch despite its flaws. First off, Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga continue to be excellent as the Warrens. They're a likable presence on screen, you care about their motivations, and because you care about them so much, it elevates the tension in every scene that they're in. Another very good performance in this movie comes from John Noble. His character is a very small supporting role, but added a lot to the overall mystery that the Warrens are investigating here, and you just felt so bad for him. This is a very effective emotional performance. Michael Chavez, the director, directed this film, for the most part in a way that feels both right at home with James Wan's previous 2 Conjuring movies, but also has its own flavor to it. He brings his own identity to the table. And that can be both a good thing and a bad thing, because there are times when the direction really shines. There's some really effective scares throughout the movie. The opening scene, for example, is freaking fantastic. I'm not going to spoil what happens, but it's terrifying, it's emotionally gripping, and it has some really great visuals, too. And there were quite a few scenes throughout the movie that had me glued to the screen. I mean, the third act especially was explosive. It was a lot of fun. And then there are other times where the direction falls completely flat and it's not scary at all. There's a scene in a hallway early on in the film, which I won't spoil, but it's your classic bait and switch that you've seen 1,000 times before in other horror movies, and it just didn't do anything. You see the big scare coming a mile away, and it's like, really? We went from the opening scene to this? And it's this contrast that makes the movie feel at times like it was directed by 2 different people. And this is coming from a guy who is typically hesitant when it comes to horror. One of these directors is really good at directing scary movies. The other one has never ever seen a scary movie in their life. There are 2 scenes in particular that stand out to me that feel extremely tacked on, both from a writing standpoint and from a directing standpoint. You could almost take both of those scenes out and the movie would be completely fine without it. They are not scary, they do little to nothing for the plot, and they're honestly kind of predictable. There are also a lot of missed opportunities with certain aspects of the script. There's this thing that happens early on to Ed Warren at the beginning of the story that becomes a subplot throughout the whole movie, and this could have added constant tension throughout the whole film, especially in the slower scenes, but they used it surprisingly very sparingly. That being said, I still had a great time watching The Devil Made Me Do It. I think as far as the main trilogy of Conjuring films, it's definitely the weakest entry. I think my favorite is still the first one, but I still enjoyed plenty of things about this movie. I think if you're a fan of the Conjuring films, you should definitely check it out. It is in theaters right now and on HBO Max, so you can choose however you want to watch it. I personally recommend it. And with that said, my rating for The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, is 7 out of 10. Wow. This is my first review in a bit. Definitely feels like I'm a little rusty. I need to get back into like the groove of things. You know what I'm saying? Like I've been really busy between work and school because I graduate in July, and I'm also working on a script for a movie that I'm planning on filming. Man, I gotta make time for you guys because holy shit, we hit 200 subscribers the other day. That's crazy. I want to thank each and every one of you for subscribing and being here for us as we move up in the world of YouTube. And I also want to thank Sebastian and Gabriel for keeping me up to date on what's been going on the channel since I've been gone. You guys are the best. I love you all so much. I've been away for too long, and it sucks working retail, man. It really does. But the goal is to one day not have to do it ever again. I feel like I'm going to reach that goal very soon. In any case, if you've seen The Devil Made Me Do It, I'm curious to know what your thoughts are, so please let me know down below in the comments. Did you like it? Did you not like it? And what's your favorite film in the Conjuring franchise? Also, be sure to like and subscribe, and don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, all that good stuff. And if you want to support Cinemageddon reviews just a little bit more, be sure to follow us on Patreon. We got a lot of bonus content and exclusive rewards on there, including a chance to request for a movie or show you'd like to see us review in the future. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is Diego for Cinemageddon Reviews, and I'll see you on the Wasteland.